So you can imagine that the world is made of two fundamental elements, at least in terms of your experience. One of those is the known or knowledge or explored territory or tradition or already adopted behaviors, the things you already do, and that the world's also composed of the unknown, things you have yet to learn, and territory you have yet to explore. The question then becomes, how do you act when faced with both of these? Now, of course, you already know how to act in terms of the known, but what to do when faced with the unknown, I would say, is the question that religion does answer, or at least attempts to answer. And I would say that the Bible gets relatively far in terms of understanding the proper mode of being when faced with the unknown. Now, there are two major ways that you can react to the unknown. The first is to completely reject it, to run away from your own ignorance, from that which you don't know, and from the possibility that you're ignorant. You reject that notion fully and instead stand firm in your belief that what you know is sufficient to circumvent life. And the other path is to say embrace the unknown, to face that which you've never seen before, to name and subdue it, and to transform because of it. Now, you might say that considering those two paths, if one path leads to you staying the same, and the other path leads to you changing for the better, then why would anybody reject the heroic path, which is the path that you take when you face your own ignorance, when you understand who you truly are, and face that which you don't know but that makes itself manifest to you? You learn, you change, and you transform for better. Why would anybody reject that? And the answer is that in order to change something about you, let's say in order to add to you, you have to take something away. You have to make a sacrifice. And so the ultimate hero's journey is the ultimate sacrifice for the greatest possible reward. And I would say that that is the story of Christ. Christ sacrifices his own life. So he effectively sacrifices everything. And in so doing, he saves the world. And so Christ was the one, and I would say only person who fully accepted that the truth would set you free. And by extension, that exploration into the unknown, followed by gaining knowledge, the process that takes place is that which will set you free. And I believe that to be true. I believe that if you face the unknown, then that will set you free. And the alternative option to that is that rejection of the unknown or rejection of the hero's journey is something that is going to lead to your benefit. And you might say, I'm sufficient for what life has to throw at me. And maybe that's true right now, but it isn't going to be true in the future. And so the only way to deal with the new things is to become a new person. Now, I would also say that you are who you are, but you're also who you could be. You see, let's take an object, for example, this water bottle. Now, this water bottle has many purposes. It has many meanings. For example, if this water bottle were to be set right here, then this would be an obstacle because it's blocking me from seeing the camera and you from seeing me. Now, if it's over here and if it's full of water and I'm thirsty, then I can drink out of the water bottle, in which case that is beneficial to me and quenching my thirst. So you can see how everything, even objects, have the potential to be something more than they currently are. And so in some sense they're a collection of being and what could be. And I would say that that's the same for human beings. And there's a quote, I believe it's by Carl Jung. He says, "The gift of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And there's a quote from Carl Rogers, and that's going to lead to what I'm going to talk about next, where he says, "The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change." And what I want to talk about now is this idea of trying to change the world. So, getting back to what I was mentioning earlier a little bit, young people are told that the world isn't what it could be and that it isn't what it should be. Now, that's true. The lie is that you have no control over that. The lie is that it's the rich people's fault. It's the politicians. It's the world leaders. It's the presidents. It's those guys deciding to start wars. It's those oppressors, and we're all the oppressed. And that's the lie that they sell you. Now, I would say that each individual plays a role in how the future unfolds. And you can say that that isn't true, and that might provide you comfort. And it might comfort you because it means that you don't have to do anything. It means you don't have any extra responsibility. It means you don't have to face the unknown. And I would say, how convenient for you that no matter what you do, at least what you haven't done, hasn't affected the world. How convenient is that? That you have had no play in any of the events that have unfolded in your lifetime. Let's say maybe since you were a kid. But I would say that it is a burden, the fact that you play a role in the unfolding of the future. But it's also a blessing because what it means, and there's a quote, I forget who it was from. The quote, it was something like, "One man can bring down a tyranny." And so that leads you to the story of Sodom and Gomorrah in the Bible, I believe Genesis 19, but in Genesis 18, Abraham sort of bargains with God. And so he has a nephew, I believe, who's living in Sodom. And Abraham consults God and he says, "I know you aren't a wicked God, that you're a righteous God, and that you wouldn't destroy a city if there were 50 righteous people." And God says, "You're right, I wouldn't destroy it if there were 50 righteous people." And he was like, "Well, what about 45? What about 40, 30, 20?" And he gets them down to 10. He says, "If there's 10 righteous people in that city," God says, "then I won't destroy it." And I believe it's true that the number isn't 10, but the number is 1. If there's one righteous man, if there's one man who's willing to face the unknown, if there's one man who isn't willing to hold his tongue and who is willing to tell the truth, then that man can bring down a tyranny. He can save a city from destruction. Now, what does that say about the individual? Well, it says that to a degree, the world's in your hands. And I wouldn't say it's in your hands in a way of, "Oh, look how powerful you are." And maybe you can view it like that, but I don't think it's best conceptualized that way. I think the best way to view it is that the sins of the world have, in a real sense, been placed on your shoulder, or at least the world's been placed on your shoulder. And you carry that cross, whether you know it or not. And I would say it's always on your shoulders. And therefore, when Christ says to carry your cross, it means to carry it uphill and to not carry it downhill. And the reason that someone would reject that responsibility is because of the sacrifice that's required. Because if you truly believed that you were responsible to a degree to the unfolding of the future, then if you were sensible and courageous and heroic and faithful and hopeful, then you would carry your cross uphill. And in so doing, you may save a city from being destroyed.